Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're joining me today. If you've ever found yourself just staring at a massive wall of dense French grammar, wondering, okay, but how on earth does this actually apply to real life? Well, you're definitely in the right place. Today, we're taking those dry textbook rules and transforming them into practical everyday skills. We are going to crack the code on French storytelling and learn how to navigate real-world rules with total confidence. Think back to the last time you tried telling a story in French about something that happened in the past. Did you kind of struggle to separate those ongoing background details from the sudden, exciting action shots? Yeah, it's a super common hurdle. I mean, how do you actually set the scene without totally confusing it with the main event? Well, stick around because by the end of this explainer, navigating these complex past events is going to feel literally like second nature to you. All right, let's dive right into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We're looking at the two past tenses, storytelling and action, rules and obligations, the art of restriction, a quick sports vocabulary drill, and finally, some real-world application. So starting us off with section 1, the two past tenses. That's the imperfect versus the passé composé. Honestly, mastering the past tense in French really just comes down to a dance between two key players. First, you've got the imparfait. This one is all about duration, past circumstances, a state of being, or setting the decor. Basically, it's the what was happening in the background. On the flip side, the passé composé acts like a sudden lightning strike. It is strictly used for a series of past terminated events. Boom, the action starts, and boom, the action finishes. But before we can actually use them, we've got to build them, right? Building the imparfait is actually highly regular. If you already know the present tense nous form, like nous travaillons, you just chop off that ending and tack on your imparfait endings. But, and this is absolutely crucial, there is one major exception you've got to memorize, and that's the verb être, meaning to be. Since its nous form is sommes, it completely breaks the rule. So the imparfait of être uses the stem et, j'étais, tu étais. Seriously, burn that exception into your brain because you are going to use it constantly. Moving right along to section 2. Storytelling in action, featuring King Midas and the greedy farmer. Because it's one thing to just know the rules, right? But it's a whole other ballgame to actually see them interact. Just look at this classic fable of the hen that laid the golden eggs. The farmer was greedy, était avide d'argent. That's a continuous state of being. It's the background decor. So naturally, we use the imparfait. But then, bam, action strikes. He takes a knife, appris, and kills the hen, l'a tué. Those sudden, completed, one-and-done actions demand the passé composé. And we see that exact same pattern in the story of King Midas. Take a look at this quote. Il était une fois. Once upon a time there was a king. Il aimait. He loved having a lot of money. Notice how était and aimer are both in the imparfait. They're setting the scene. They're establishing Midas's ongoing state of greed. But then the plot suddenly kicks into gear. Alors il a prié. So he prayed. That specific plot-advancing action shifts us immediately right into the passé composé. All right, shifting gears to section 3, rules and obligations. So, stepping out of the past for a minute, knowing how to express rules is a vital survival skill for the present day. And there are 3 primary, super useful structures for this. First up is the impersonal expression il faut, followed by an infinitive, which basically means it is necessary to, whatever. Second, we have the verb devoir, which means to have to, or must, plus an infinitive, like vous devez vous informer. You must inform yourself. And third, you can just use the direct command or the imperative mood, like informez-vous, inform yourself. Pretty straightforward, right? Now, the real trick here is knowing how to apply these dynamically depending on exactly where you are. Like, say you're on an airplane. The rules there are pretty specific. Vous devez porter des chaussures confortables. You must wear comfortable shoes. Now, contrast that with being at the beach. To avoid a nasty sunburn, il faut mettre un chapeau. It is necessary to wear a hat, and il faut boire beaucoup d'eau. It is necessary to drink a lot of water. The underlying grammar stays exactly the same, but the vocabulary adapts to keep you safe and comfortable in the real world. Which brings us to section 4, the art of restriction, specifically using ne, que. So as you get better at French, you're going to want to start using the nuanced structures that native speakers actually use every single day. If you want to say the word only, your first instinct might be to just say seulement. And hey, that is perfectly correct. But there's a much more sophisticated equivalent you should know, the ne, que structure. It basically sandwiches the verb. So, tu as seulement 16 ans becomes tu n'as que 16 ans, which literally translates to you do not have but 16 years. The meaning is 100% identical. You are only 16, so you aren't allowed to work, but dropping a ne que into the conversation instantly elevates your spoken French. Plus, it's going to really help you understand native speakers because they use this literally all the time. Next up, Section 5, Sports Vocabulary. Let's do a rapid-fire drill. All right, let's bring the energy up a bit and connect these really fast. That classic black and white ball icon, that links straight to do football. Definitely notice the use of the partitive article do there. And the racket? That one connects directly to do tennis. Simple, direct, and honestly, essential for small talk. Keeping that pace going, the swimmer icon links to de la natation, swimming, and the high jumper over there represents de l'athlétisme, track and field. Really pay attention to how the articles change based on gender and starting vowels here. So it's de la for a feminine word and de les apostrophe for a vowel. Seriously, mastering those tiny details is exactly what makes you sound fluent. Finally, we arrive at Section 6, Real-World Application, specifically student work rules. Okay, so this is where the rubber meets the road. We are applying our skills to a real, high-stakes scenario. Navigating labor regulations as a foreign student. Let me tell you, understanding administrative texts is a massive part of living abroad in France. The legal requirements are super precise here. First, the student must have completed 1 full year of studies in France. Second, this work is specifically permitted only during the university summer holidays. Third, and this is big, it is not automatic. The student actually has to obtain authorization from the Direction départementale du travail. And finally, that work authorization has a strict time limit. It absolutely cannot exceed 3 months. But, as with any administrative rules, there are always exceptions. Students from certain geopolitical regions actually get to bypass this authorization process entirely. This includes students from European Economic Community member countries, though there were exceptions for Spain and Portugal at the time of this writing, as well as students from Central Africa, Togo, Andorra, and Monaco. Basically, if you happen to fall into one of those specific categories, that prior authorization rule we just talked about doesn't even apply to you. And there we have it, guys. We've journeyed all the way from the foundational mechanics of those tricky past tenses, right through the art of storytelling, into the practicalities of expressing obligations, and finally applied it all to some real-world bureaucratic French. You now have the structural tools you need in your back pocket. So I'm going to leave you with this one question. Now that you have the vocabulary for the rules of today and the tenses for the actions of the past, what French story are you going to tell first? Take these tools off the screen, get out there, and bring them into your everyday life. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy learning!